welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Islandstats Sports Show. Joining me today is co-host Juggling Jason Ford. First of all, good evening, Jason, and I hope all is well.
I hope you had a good hump day, brother, man. Everything's good on this side of town.
Ain't no hump day, man. It's only a hump day for people that work Monday to Friday. Yeah,
you're right about
that. Sports happens Monday through Monday, so
yeah, you're right.
It's hump day every day.
You're right.
But we'll start off the bat. I mean, on Saturday there was a remarkable performance by both Flora Duffy and Tyler Smith. But first, let's talk a bit about Flora's performance. A shorter course, which is the World Cup courses, and she kind of just blew away the field from start to finish. Led from the swim right through the cycle and then the run. Overall, she'll be pleased with that performance, obviously. But the fact that she's out there, she's making that comeback after a long layoff of injury. She started off really well at the end of last year, and then obviously COVID kicked in. More time off, but now she's kind of staking that claim that she's the person to beat yet again. Just hearing the fact that she's picked up yet another win, she's won 2 events and came second in another. Just hearing that, how does that make you feel?
First things first, proud. I mean, she continues to make us proud. Just following her. But it's something you just said just now, staking her claim. That last event when she showed up second, I think a lot of the competitors say, okay, you know what? She might be on that downward trend. I think it's now we can bounce on her. We can trounce on her. We know we can get across her. Wow.
Short term.
That was a blip because obviously, and I'm pretty sure that's one of the things I'm pretty sure Flora is definitely pleased of. It was her swim. That is her weakest out of the 3 things, which if you can call weak, but that is her weakest. And if she comes out of the water first, it's almost game over because once she gets on the bike, she sort of takes over. And then I want to say she strolls in, but she has a good run and it's easy pickings after that. And saying that year off of COVID and remember coming back off the injury and everything else, it may have even done her some good, just get some extra rest because of the injury. And then she was trying so hard to get back, to get ready for the Olympics and everything else with that injury. Now it's given her some time to really rest up, heal up, and now refocus on the Olympics for next year.
Yeah, and not to be outdone, I know Tyler Smith, who himself has just come back from injury. This is his first event in more than a year, and to finish 26th out of 66. Just 2 minutes from the winner. For him, it's a remarkable feat. I got a chance to talk to him yesterday. He was really pleased with his performance, but still, he knows there's a lot of work to be done. He's spending time in Spain preparing for his next event, which will be next week, and just working with a group of people that are in the game for the same reasons to get into that WTS on a regular basis next year. Obviously, the under-23 World Championships next year, if it goes off, it'll be his last year to be able to qualify for that. There's an outside chance for him to meet the standard for the Olympics, but it's always ever fighting battle because time is not on his side for competition-wise. But he says he's going to give it his all to try and qualify. And if it doesn't happen this year, then it's another 3 years because remember, the Olympics will take place in 2021 and then 2024. So in 3 years' time, he'll be that much stronger, that much wiser, and that much more educated in the sport of triathlon.
Most definitely, and you said it all. That if the end goal, I won't say the end goal, the biggest goal is the Olympics. Well, obviously, if you make the next Olympics, which would be wonderful, but basically be there for experience. It's the next one you'd be really looking to state his claim in that Olympics. But if you look at Tyler Smith coming off an injury, and Errol, as you know, as an athlete, there's always doubt that sets in when you have an injury. And to number one, can I get back to where I was when I got the injury? And then can I be even better? And just getting across that first event, now you can see where okay, now I feel good. Or whatever. You get to analyze everything off that first event or the first game or the first match or whatever the case may be, whatever sport you're in. Once you come off an injury, you get to really evaluate yourself because you could do all the gym work, you could do all the spa training, you could do all the friendly games and all that, but the competition is it takes so much out of you, and that's when you really get to analyze where you're at in your journey.
Yeah, he even said, on the bike, that's when he said to himself, you know what, I think I belong here, and again, like you said, all the training, all the shadowing, all the gym work, all of that. It's when you're in that competition because your mind then changes, and I know you in what you do when you're doing your little, when you're practicing your art, it's one thing, but when you're performing,
Yes.
and that's basically what you do for your livelihood, you perform. It's a difference because blood rushing, tempo, looking out to see because when you're entertaining yourself at home, hey, it's one thing, but when you have to entertain others, it's a little different.
There's no strategy when you're home, really. You just, and that's the thing is when sports, like I said, a lot of times it's 90% mental because there's strategy involved in it. And like I said, when he's right, just take for instance, he's riding, and you're saying we're coming off an injury, but I'm keeping up with guys who didn't have an injury, or surpassing guys who hasn't had an injury. So you really get to evaluate yourself during competition. I don't care if it's a fight, whatever the case may be. Competition is what we thrive for, and those who do great under pressure in competition are the ones who normally succeed.
Yeah, definitely. Let's throw in a little bit of this over the weekend FA Cup preliminary matches, and we'll get to the Premier Division as well. But in the FA preliminary matches, actually last night it was the last match of the first round. Tough Dogs became the second Corona League team to advance. They beat the first division outfit, Flanagan's Onions, 2-1. And then on Sunday, St. David's got bounced out by another Corona team, Footy Kings, 5-2. Boulevard Blazers, who beat Vasco a week before, 3-1, lost to Vasco this time, 4-3. Social Club seemed to have Wolves' number early in the season. They beat them on the opening day of the season, 1-0 at the National Sports Center in a league match. They then beat them 4-2 at the Police Field. And then Hamilton Parish continued their goal-scoring feats, scoring 4 times against Island Rangers. So the advancing teams to the next round include Hamilton Parish, Young Men's Social Club, Boulevard Blazers, Footy Kings, and Tough Dogs. They'll go into the draw with the Premier Division teams. That should be very, very interesting. I know some of those teams will be looking for the lower half, and some of those teams won't mind a challenge of the upper half of that Premier Division.
Well, out of all those results, Earl, what was the more surprising result for you out of those results?
The Vasco Boulevard.
I thought so.
Vasco Boulevard, only because the beginning of the season, Vasco have been struggling. And I'm not sure if the Vasco team was able to bring in other players for that particular game who probably are not making themselves available every Sunday. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the new Vasco team we'll see, or but they got a hat trick from one player. In Ryan Lopes, and Ryan Lopes scored a lot of goals for him last year. So when you look at a player making a difference, and we've seen that with Hamilton Parish, where young Jordan Otterbridge is on fire, scoring. He's got 7 goals in 2 league games, and then he scores 2 in the FA. I know he's playing against players in a lower division, and we have to see, hopefully, my hope, Hamilton Parish get drawn against one of the Premier Division teams, so their coach can get an opportunity to see just how he can match up if they're successful in being promoted against a Premier Division team.
So let's take that one game in particular. Let's take that one game. Who's the opponent?
Hamilton Parish?
No,
Hamilton Parish or something?
Yeah,
Island Rangers.
yeah. Don't take too much stock into that game. Really.
Well,
And I say that because I'm just going through history.
yes.
A 4-1 defeat is actually a good result for Island Rangers, as we've
Well,
known.
remember, at the beginning of every season, Island Rangers play tough. It's as the season goes on, you know how they start to fade away.
They are upward of conceding 50 to 70 goals a season. Okay, so that's nothing new. What's going to be interesting, because when you say Corona teams, and a lot of people just think that it's just a low division. Yes, it's like a Saturday kick for a lot of guys. But remember, a lot of these teams have past probably MVP players of the league, past players who've won multiple trophies in the league.
Ringers. They have ringers.
Now, the problem is, as you know, they can you come up for one game. Just put 2 and 3 together, and that's where it's going to be interesting if they get the 40 Kings and Tough Dogs, if they get through to the next round. I mean, if they get across this next round of the FA, how far can they go because of the depth of the team, and do they have the legs? And that always. I remember years ago, we're talking about Hamilton Parish. When Hamilton Parish, I think, got to the finals against North Village.
North Village,
yeah, and then had to pull back out Irvin Burgess and Corey Hill. You know, and they stunk because there's so much Bengay was going on. You know, I think we needed face masks back then just to watch the game. I didn't say that. I mean, but you know, they could only probably give you a good 60 minutes, and then hang on, guys, we've got to see what we can do for the last 30. But that's going to be the difference, because when you see Ralph Gumbo-Bean Jr., back out there, and it's for fun. And Earl, most of these Corona teams do not train.
Right.
They do not train. So it's show up.
They go off experience.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting, like I said, if they do draw against a top-level Premier team.
But looking at the 40 Kings team, they have some veteran players in there who can still play.
Kaiwan.
They're one of the teams that will want the Robin Hoods, want the North Villages, want the top teams in the Premier Division. Now, Tough Dogs, even some of those other teams would want right now off of the record, Somerset Eagles, would want Crossroads, would want St. George's and Somerset and Devonshire Colts, because of their records right now. Not saying that these teams are bad, it's just because of their records right now. Those are the teams that you want.
The form that they do is not good right now.
Right. But those teams will probably want one of those teams as well to try and jumpstart themselves and get a good lift. I know there's going to be a lot of teams in that Premier Division that's not going to want their name to come out with any team fourth and higher, because you're already in a rut and you're trying to get out of the rut.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. So the FA brings out a lot, but what you want to do is actually get a real win under your belt and not a practice match win sort of thing,
Now, just think about it. As a coach now for the Corona teams, do you actually try to schedule a practice?
No. I might burn them out. Like you said, I got 60 minutes in the legs. I give them a practice match or a practice. My gracious. I just put it down to 43.
Yeah. But no, we're talking about 40 Kings with Darius Cox, I believe Kaiwan Franks, and these guys.
Yeah.
These guys, they're not that far removed from the Premier Division game. So they know a lot of the players. They know, once again, it comes to speed and endurance. That's what it comes with when you come to these competitions.
Well, see, for these guys, and they have Jason Williamson, who used to play for North Village, but these guys will play smart. Depending on what field they play on, they'll utilize the field to their advantage. You're not going to see them standing on the halfway line for a ball to go over the top and chase some young by for 90 minutes. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. you're going to have to come to me.
And as we say, you actually play compact or narrow. Basically, we won't keep too many guys wide. We keep everything straight, basically from the width of the box all the way down through. Keep it. Don't go outside the width. Let the young boys go to the width of the box. You'll have to come back inside to us.
They'll get tired of running out there and looking up and saying, "Oh, nobody's out here with me."
Now, I'll be interested what the BFA schedules those fields, because when you look at the St. George's Cricket Club or White Hill or St. David's, like
that's when they played for thunder, lightning, and the matches postponed. They had to play a night game.
So it's gonna be interesting, especially those fields, because the taxing on those legs. I hate to say this here, Earl. You're seeing thunder and lightning. You better hope the game gets, like I said, hope the game gets cold, because if it just rains and
more trouble.
It's like running uphill all day in West Niggas. So it's be interesting with the draw, and we can't. When is the draw actually?
I'm not 100% sure. It should be in the schedule sometime, but actually it should be soon, because I know the next round was scheduled for the weekend of November, the second weekend in November. So should be soon.
Look forward to
it. Definitely. Let's take a quick look at the Premier Division matches that took place on Sunday as well. Devonshire Cougars defeated Somerset Eagles 5-1. North Village Rams defeated Devonshire Colts 2-1. Southampton Rangers went down to St. George's 1-0. Robin Hood defeated Somerset Trojans 2-0. And on Saturday night, Dandytown defeated Crossroads 1-0. So interesting matchups there. Some teams.
I would actually. What was a surprise score? But I might say congratulations. How's that?
What's that?
I said I would actually. What was the surprise score of those games? But I'm pretty sure everybody knows
what the surprise score was.
Yeah, over the weekend. Then again, it probably wasn't a surprise for you, because you probably always expected.
Well, I expected St. George's to beat Rangers.
Like I said.
I expected St. George's to beat. I actually picked St. George's to beat Rangers.
Even on the form that they've been on?
Giving up a girl a game. Yeah. Or for me, this is how St. George's will get out of the relegation area and be comfortable. If they can score a goal per game, they stand a chance of getting at least a point, because they're not going to give up. Every once in a while, they give up 2 goals. The
goalkeeper's strong,
right? And he's got the defense. He's marshaling the defense to not give up many chances. So, in that regard, if they could score a goal, at least they'll get a point. But there's a possibility they get all 3. If you can recall, remember last season we were talking about North Village. They were winning games like they have this season by the odd goal, quietly. And again, here they are. They beat Devonshire Colts 2-1. Not a lot of noise. They're not, blowing away teams. They're doing what they have to do to get the 3 points week in and week out. And if they can't get 3, they'll get 1. And I think that's how St. George's have to keep looking at things. Don't try to play. You're not going to score. Well, there comes a time. I mean, we saw, 2 weeks ago where 2 teams beat Manchester United and Liverpool on the same day by taking all their chances. That doesn't happen every week.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And every team can expect that, because no one would have expected Robin Hood to beat PHC. What was it, 6-1? The opening game of the season? But it happened. They took their chances.
And
so
the game that PAC played, was it Dandytown? And it was what? It was a burner, and they say PAC missed. So remember, they missed 2 penalties, and they said they missed numerous other goals where they could have, blew them off.
That would have turned it around for them. Missing 2 penalties, coming from behind to draw 3-3. Like you say, that's why they play the game, because you're never guaranteed what you think will happen. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't always happen the way it happens. The result might be the same, but how it ends up, how it materializes to get to the result and go is scripted in that regard, we say. We're soon to be joined by Justin Dunno. I know last night Justin scored 2 goals as his team advanced to the next round of the Emirates FA Challenge Cup over in the UK. Justin scored just before halftime, I believe, and in the second half, the second half goal was a humdinger, a blast from just inside the box. So he'll be joining us soon. So actually, you know what? Let's go to our overseas report. We have Anne-Marie Burke from Barbados to give us this update.
Hi, Earl. Always good to hear from you as usual, week after week. There are some exciting things on the horizon here in Barbados. Of course, we are gearing up for the Fall Rally Barbados weekend set for the end of October. October 25th will see the Flow King of the Hill event, followed by the October 31st, November 1st Rally Barbados. And we've been having a number of the international drivers signing up for Rally Barbados this year. I guess with a lot of action missing around the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns and restrictions, the fact that Barbados is able to host such an event, a lot of international drivers are actually being signed up. One such driver, the latest person to put their name into the starting lineup is Nadia Sudin Mataya. She is a female driver, female international driver. She's expected to be behind the wheel of a BMW 380 Ti. And she has been showing what skills she has. She actually won a warm-up event last weekend here in Barbados over at the Vaucluse Raceway. She beat all the men and let them know, you know what, I'm in contention just like you are. So we expect that, you know, the likes of Ken Block and Mark Edwards, who is the British champion, that we are having a lineup that actually is featuring some of the best motorsport drivers that you can have in terms of road rallying around the world, coming to Barbados to get some seat time that they would have missed, obviously, throughout the year. Also on the horizon for Barbados, it was long in coming. We've waited quite a while for this to happen. But the Garrison Savannah, which is the home of horse racing here in Barbados, is finally being retrofitted with floodlights. This means that for the first time, after years and years, almost decades of persons begging for racing to be held under the lights, it is becoming possible. So throughout the past week, we had members of the Barbados Light and Power Company actually around the garrison installing the poles as all the fixtures that are needed for the floodlights to be a go. And there's expected to be a race day on October the 31st. And that is supposed to be the day that has our first night racing here in Barbados. Once all goes well, I should say. We've been having some rain, so of course that has affected how quickly the retrofitting process has been done. But nevertheless, we're expecting to finally get horse racing under the floodlights. Volleyball, as I mentioned last week, they had the knockout finals. They're into the league finals now. So the clubs are continuing to play volleyball here on the island. Volleyball is very active. It has a number of persons coming out. Security protocols in place, of course, of social distancing and sanitizing, etc., of the equipment, like, you know, during the breaks and how the players even celebrate. All these things have been tweaked because of the COVID-19 situation. However, we have volleyball moving from the knockouts that were completed into the league. The league has started. Overseas, our jockeys continue to obviously be at the forefront across the Canadian racing arena. Over at Century Mile, which is expected to finish at the beginning of November. I think November 1st they're supposed to finish. We have Rico Walcott with some 46 wins, leading all the jockeys. So therefore, we have our jockeys out there not only playing their trade in a big way, but definitely leading jockey standings at Century Mile. We have Rico Walcott. And ironically, in second place, Antonio Whitehall, he's on 34 wins. And Ray Williams, who's one of the younger jockeys, he has been tasting success of recent within the past 2 race days, which was on Saturday and then again on Sunday. He would have actually credited 4 winners between the 2 race days at Century Mile. So Our jockeys are already still flying the flag high for Barbados over there in Canada. And I must also highlight we're into Black History Month. And over in England, there is a the Shine Academy, which is a children's charity, and they have been focusing on educating the young British children about black cricketers and their contribution to the cricket landscape in that country. And two persons from Barbados have been highlighted, those being Joe for Archer, who is currently in the England setup for cricket, and of course our first ever black cricketer on the English side, Roland Butcher, who's also Barbadian. He too has been one of those cricketers who the students have been able to learn about their story, learn about the history of cricket, in relation to the black cricketers and the black history within England, and how those cricketers were able to break through certain barriers to actually get to represent England. So basically, that's it from me. We do have sports still ongoing. Two major events coming up. Sol Rally Barbados at the end of this month, October 30th to November the 1st. And then, of course, we also have the possibility of horse racing for the first time. History is going to be made as horse racing goes under the floodlights at Garrison Savannah come the end of October as well. So that's it from me here in Barbados. I hope all is well over in Bermuda, sporting wise and otherwise.
Well, Jay, we heard from Anne Marie. One of the things that she was talking about was the fact that Britain is highlighting Black History Month, and we all know that one of the people that they highlighted was Clyde Best. His achievements have gone, have been global. Being a pioneer, being someone from this tiny little island, leaving here at a young age and having to endure so much. I every time I hear his story, I have to kind of smile, because there's not many people that would have been able to deal with so much adversity at such a young age. But he was prepared, both mentally and physically, to go through it with a lot of support. He had a lot of support both here in Bermuda and over in the UK. His teammates rallied around him, his family and friends rallied around him. And I know just watching that little clip made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives early.
You mentioned his attitude about refer to his attitude to deal with it. And you've been to a couple of the old boys games where you talked about past players, and I remember the one where they recognized Sir Best, and a lot of the older players, or players older than him, who played neighborhood football with him and football around him, and even old coaches talked highly of his temperament. Very humble, even to this day, still humble. I mean, he's getting all these accolades, and I can tell you, he don't like it. He don't like it. He recognizes them, but personally, he's like, man, I don't need. I'm just
yeah.
But in saying that, but also when you hear people like Harry Redknapp,
Yep.
talk about Sir Best, and you know how much of a icon he is in England. But to hear him talk so highly about Mr. Best, there's one thing about your neighborhood guys always going to, as we say, big you up or whatever the case may be. But to hear go to another country and have the same effect on other people, it's beautiful, man. And then once again, we're forever endeared to Mr. Best.
Yeah. Well, I did promise you that we will be joined by Justin Dunower, and here is the man himself. First of all, good day, Justin.
Morning.
How are things? I mean, last night you guys had a remarkable result to advance in the FA Cup, but your night, I mean, named man of the match. Obviously, you done a yeoman's job up and down. Take us through your night of football.
Yeah, I think we were able to string a good performance together finally. We've had a tough start in the league against Fylde, who just got relegated from the league above. and Kidderminster the Harriers, who have the Bermudian Keziah Martin, who also plays for them. So it was a tough start in the league. So, we've been able to capitalize on our FA Cup games as of recent, with the winning penalties about 2 weeks ago. And now with this win in regular time, a rather convincing win, which I think we needed. It was a confidence booster. Um, to be able to score, a lot of goals and together a good performance. In terms of my night, whenever I step on the pitch, I want to make an impact. And as a winger, as a forward, you want to do that with goals and assists and all that type of stuff that you can see and look back and be like, yeah, I helped, you know, that win come about. So I'm just pleased to have made the impact I would have wanted, and get off the mark for the season, obviously. So just happy to do that in a win and help us progress to the next qualifying round.
Talk a little bit about that first goal you scored, because it took a bubble, unexpected to keeper.
Yeah. I made a decent run in behind, and the defender who was checking from the outside did well to stay with me, and kind of took a rather rough shot of my left foot, and it kind of bubbled and hit the defender's leg, and it just completely wrong sided the keeper. But that, like they
They
say,
count.
you'll take anything. At this point, to get off the mark, I'll take any to tap in from a yard out. I'll take it too. It just felt good to finally put one in the back of the net, no matter how simple or how hard it was. And then the second one was night and day compared to the first one. So.
Yeah. When you look at how you say you guys have been challenged at the start of the season, it, how difficult was it to get back involved after the COVID? So much going on outside the game, and then getting back into training and the season finally kicking off, because it seemed like it took forever to get the season started.
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating not knowing exactly when things were going to kick off and when we were going to start getting back into the full swing of things in terms of training. But thankfully we got to go ahead, I think, for early October start, and that it was actually in jeopardy up until the week before that, I think,
Yeah.
because of rising cases and stuff like that. So we were back in the full swing of things. We were all feeling fitter, feeling good, and for them to be like, yeah, we're gonna have to wait maybe for the season to start, I was kind of like, no, not this again type of thing. So, like I said, thankfully it got underway, and now there's no fans at our level, which is kind of I guess when you're going away, it's a blessing, but when you're playing at home, it's not the best of feelings, because the fans are usually that 12th man, especially at Darlington, where the support is just unreal from them. So it's a bit different, but nevertheless, we still got to go on the pitch and got a job to do. Rather if it's no matter if it's one fan or 1,000 fans, we still got to go out there and win the football game. And the club has done a good job of streaming our home games, our home league games, in efforts to help keep money flowing to the club and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, we're making do with what we have type of thing. And like I said, we still have to kick on and get the results.
Yeah. I did note you have an interesting Boxing Day and January 2nd day matchup, because you'll be playing against Dale Eves Spennymoor. So close back-to-back games. I know you can't wait for that, because you guys are such good friends, and in the national team, I know that banter's already started.
Yeah, it's definitely probably the more enticing fixtures in terms of what I'm looking to play in. Um, Obviously, Dale being the number one, and me being a forward, it's definitely going to be a good contest in terms of competitiveness, not just from my standpoint and his standpoint, but from the club standpoint. There's always a good fixture between the two teams, given the proximity in terms of how close they are and things like that. So it will be a good, it'll be two good forward games. I remember them last year. We won at home. Yeah, we won 1-0 at home, and then we went to their place on New Year's Day, and lost 3-1. So it's like that shows you like that each team could win it on any given day type of thing. So it will definitely be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Like you said, the event has already started. So I'm definitely looking forward to that
Yeah.
week.
There's so many players in the league that you play in now. It must feel like at times, oh boy, I'm hurt kind of thing, because you know, even though guys are on other teams, when you guys see each other in opposite jerseys, kind of thing, it kind of still makes you feel like, hey, that's my boy over there. That you know, we know each other, and a bit of Bermuda's actually taking over in this place.
Yeah, it's definitely it's nice knowing that there are Bermudians out here and all over doing well, and to know that there are some players in my league and even in the leagues below and the leagues above that are doing well, and I get to see them decently often. There's a couple guys at Dorm City, and um, like you said, Dale's at Spennymoor, Keziah's at Kidderminster, so you'll see them, from time to time playing against each other. And the Dorm City guys live not too far from here, so we've seen them a few times. So like you said, at times you feel like you're at home just being surrounded by people who you're
Right.
familiar with, that you can relate with. But when you get on the field, it's a different story. You know what I mean? No matter who you're playing, you still gotta go out there and put the tackles in and win it for your club. And after that, you guys can hold each other up and things like that. Like
Yeah,
after the
after,
Kidderminster,
after.
yeah. Like after the Kidderminster game, I wasn't too pleased with the result, but I still went over to Keziah, and I
Right,
don't know him that well, but I went over to him and held him up, and
right.
wished him all the best for the rest of the season. So
Yeah. Jay, you got a question?
Yeah, Justin, hey, I'm glad Earl finally brought on a striker, because I've been looking for a striker on this show for a little while now. And we talk so much about confidence, and especially for strikers, how important is confidence. When a striker is confident, he's banging in the goals, and when he's not confident. So obviously, I'm going to ask you, what do you do when the goals are not going in? Those tap-ins are not coming. You're making these runs, and these certain things happen. How do you stay mentally strong to get to the next stage?
it's extremely hard, as any forward can tell you, any winger, to go a string of games without the goals or the assists. Um, no matter how well you play, you still want to score the goals. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to stay mentally tuned in those periods, because like you said, when they're coming. Like when you're scoring, sometimes they just flow. I remember periods last year where I was scoring 2 and 3 games in a row, and putting together good performances back to back to back. But when things like that aren't going well, the last couple games, I think I played all right, but not to the standard I want to play at. So it's just trying to tell myself, just remember the basics, remember what, you're good at, my strengths, which is, speed and I can finish. So, you know what I mean? I'm just got to tell myself to be not calm, but, just be composed and remember what I can do on the field, and don't overthink it. Because when you start overthinking, you try to do things that you don't normally do, and, you start to get frustrated, and that's not going to bode well for, the confidence level that you're already at, which might be pretty low. So I just try to stay, relatively composed, and tell myself to just do the things I know how to do. The gaffer has me in the team for a reason, so I just have to trust that and trust my ability and go out there and do what I can. And if all else fails, always put a shift in, and always put an effort in, always work for your mate. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to not play well, but to not play well and not put the effort in is a whole different story. And that's one thing I've always told myself: no matter how poor things are going, always make sure you're putting that graft in and working for your mate. So it is tough, but hopefully I can use my last performance and use that on the weekend and in the games to come, and build on that. So hopefully things just go up and up from here.
Yeah.
As a striker, you got any goals for this season as far as scoring? What's your tally? What would you like to get, and what you think you're gonna get? That's good.
That's an interesting question, because last year, obviously I didn't really know what to expect, so I was just going in trying to do whatever I can, score the girls I can and things like that. And I ended up having 9 by the end of prematurely ends completed season, which was late February. So I backed myself to have probably scored 12, 13, 14 goals last season, given that it ended early. So I'm trying to do better than that. If I can have 10 by Christmas, that would be, great for me, and just build off of that. But I try not to think too much in terms of big targets. Obviously, like I said, 10 by Christmas will probably be ideal for me. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to take it one game at a time and just, if I do that, the goals will come. And if I don't really like to think about numbers and stuff like that too much, but hopefully they come. So
how important is it to stay ready? You not last night's game, but the previous game, Darlington picked up an injury early in the match. You came off the bench. Some players sit on the bench and think, okay, I'm not going to come on until halftime. But here you are introduced to the game, I think in the 14th minute or something like that.
Yeah, it's something that I've learned to be better at in terms of staying ready. Last year, I'd spent, especially the first half of the season, coming off the bench for the most part. And I kind of got used to, making sure I'm ready no matter when the time comes. You know what I mean? I scored almost half my goals coming off the bench. So in my mind, I already have that kind of mindset, is to always be ready no matter if I'm starting. Obviously, I would love to start, but no matter what the gaffer might have other plans, like he did the other night, where I wasn't starting in our league opener, but an injury happened to our leading goal scorer from last year, and I was called on the field within 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And in a game like that, where it was very highly contested, it was pretty tough getting into the groove of the game. It's hard, but you have to keep yourself just mentally prepared more than anything, to come on and be ready no matter what, because anything can happen, injuries, or what have you. So it's something that I've learned to work on in the last year, and I've gotten better at. I hope to keep getting better at that throughout the years to come. This season, I found myself starting more than anything, but I still have in my mind, if I'm not in that 11, I have to be ready to come off the bench and make an impact, because that's what the gaffer wants me to come on and make an impact like I did last season. So
we know it's not going to be until at least March when you'll get to put on the pink jersey of Bermuda again. But what has been you guys' conversation? Because I know you guys will stay in touch with each other about what you're doing to ensure that when that time comes, everybody's ready.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer not being able to have international games as of yet with Bermuda. But a lot of us are, actually all of us are still playing, whether it's locally or abroad. So we're all, getting fit, we're staying fit, and getting ready. It gives us more time to get ready actually to compete in March in that next FIFA window, God willing. So nothing's really changed in terms of our mentality, in terms of the way we want to play as a national team. Kyle Lightbourne has come in and really instilled a certain manner in which he wants to play, and I think it should, no matter who we play, whether it's Guyana or Mexico, we've always stuck to that game plan, and it's proven to work, more or less. So it's more or less, nothing's changed in terms of the conversation. Pretty much the same group of guys. So we're just looking forward to build off of our recent success in terms of the Gold Cup and Nations League qualifying, and just keep that going into the World Cup qualifying and the games to come. So I'm looking forward to it. I know the other boys are looking forward to it, and I think it will be a good thing to get back on the pitch with them and hopefully progress on.
Well, I do want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your night last night with us. And we want to wish you all the best for the remainder of the season, and hopefully we can get you back on here probably after you get a hat trick in the coming weeks.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you.
Well,
I
let's
really
put it like
appreciate
this. I know one person wouldn't want you to score a hat trick on Boxing Day or January 2nd, that's for sure. But we'll get to that when we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Well, y'all are gonna hear back from me on January 2nd, or you're gonna hear back from him. So we'll see who it is.
Okay. All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your night, see?
All right, I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, Jay, he said something early in the conversation, referring to it's tough on the fans because when you play at home, or it's tough on the team when you play at home and there's no fans.
Mhm.
We know that there's a loud chant right now about if some of the English teams don't get a bailout, some of them won't be around in a matter of weeks to months. They are struggling. Unlike the U.S., most of the clubs rely on fans coming through the turnstiles to help the business side of a club, and without that, it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's something that I think is all in the back of our minds. And when it hit, obviously when it hit back in early February, especially in the UK, and then month after month, the lost revenue. We said, we talked about it, there was murmurs about it, but now, as you just mentioned off air, and now it's big shouts, and then it's going to be a begging. You see now that there is a big project, big picture, it's being led by Manchester United and Liverpool, and basically to reduce the Premier League down to 18, from 20 to 18 teams, and to get rid of the League Cup. Obviously, it's going to offset some money, basically to look at survival mode for some of these smaller clubs. And that's going to be, but what's going to happen in terms of give the higher clubs more power. And I think that's the part that's not worked out. But in saying that, you're going to have these discussions. We've said that, I think before there was thoughts, people insinuating, but now they're going to have these major discussions because of the lack of revenue that these clubs need as fans coming through. Like you said, a lot of these clubs don't have the media streaming service. Well, I won't say streaming service, but just the sponsorship and stuff like that. So the money that's coming in via media for these big clubs, these small clubs are not getting it. So they have to rely on their fans coming through. Now, some of these grounds are only maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about how do you pay not only the wages of the players, maintenance of the field, staff. It's just so much things that have to go on. And like you said, the longer this goes on with fans not being able to attend, these smaller clubs will be jeopardized drastically.
Definitely. I remember some years ago, there was talk of kind of a breakaway league that involved Glasgow Rangers, Glasgow Celtic, and the top teams in the English league. And I believe they were trying to sort of shoulder their way through the English FA by saying that we're the product kind of thing. We have the product, and you have to kind of listen to us. But I think them breaking away was more of taking control of things. This time, it's to save clubs, and I think that's where it would actually get some traction, because some clubs have what we call sister clubs and brother clubs, and when they are the lower clubs, and they use them as farmers, and that's what I think will help push this talk right now to another level.
Interesting you say that, because according to the BBC, and I just reading this a while ago, according to the BBC, those talks, even for breakaway league, there's rumors about that again, so it's I don't know how many ways you look at it. I just think that obviously those discussions need to be had, and it's not just in the EPL. I mean, the NFL, they're talking about that. The NBA just finished off. Congratulations to the Lakers fans. But, they just played the whole playoffs in a bubble. So they're not even sure when they're going to start their new league. Maybe Christmas Day, maybe the New Year. And then will they have fans? Will they not have fans? They're probably one of the only leagues have actually circumvented the COVID-19, not having any positive results during the time period. But we see the NFL having trouble week after week after week. And I mean, it's only 16 games, but I don't know if we're getting to even finish because of
one team that played last night. That was the first game since September 29th.
Yeah, and it was on a Tuesday
29
night.
guys. Yeah.
It was on Tuesday. When's the last time the game was on a Tuesday night?
They said that it's been years in their 70-year history. This is the first time in a long time that they've had a Tuesday night.
So it's going to be interesting. Baseball, the same thing. I mean, it's you know, and just think about it once again, the money the revenue that's not coming in. How is that going to affect the farm clubs? Because, like you said, a lot of these teams have sister clubs or lower division clubs that they're attached to. So it's not only their top team, but just take, for instance, even EPL. What about the under-23 squads and lower and academies and all the, you know, they might be private sponsored, but there will be a knock-on effect.
Yeah, they won't feel it this season, but guaranteed there will be a lot of discussion over the summer. What stays and what has to go.
But it also questions what's sustainable.
Yeah. Because
you would think that the amount of contracts and just from outside looking in, the amount of money that's the contracts, the TV deals, you say, well, man, there's a lot of money coming in, but it doesn't seem like it's sustainable at all, realistically, because, I mean, yes, the COVID has hit, but we're only looking at maybe, 6-7 months?
Yeah.
And it's becoming drastic for a couple of clubs.
Yeah. Their payouts are more than what they're been able to bring in. And obviously over the COVID, they still had to pay light bills. They still had to pay phone bills. They still had to pay internet bills. Whether it's on or not, they still have to pay that stuff.
So would you say this would be very similar to like the correction of the stock market? Do you think there needs to be a correction in salaries?
I've been saying it for years. I've been saying it for years. You have to have a cap salary to make it even for everybody across the board. Okay, you have talent, but there's got to be a level playing field at some point in time. Okay, if the bigger clubs are making an enormous amount of money, okay, and they're able to pay a player £200,000 a week or £300,000 a week, well, you have some clubs that's not even a whole month's salary for the entire team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how does that team manage or match the bigger teams? And that's where you say, okay, you want a level playing field? Let's have a cap of $150,000 per week. I'm not saying that the lower clubs will be able to do that, but the gap will not be as big as we go on because it will get closer and closer and closer.
The caveat to all of that is, or I should say the reality to all of that, you're only talking about one league.
Right.
What we're seeing now with the leagues around the world, there is no cap. So you might say you're getting paid £250,000 a week, but that person go China and get 400, just for the sake of argument, right? Or go to the MSL and get a player that's definitely on the down slope of his career, get paid X amount of dollars. And I think that's, no matter what the EPL does, they're still going to have problems and competition with the other leagues around the world. Something that I think we could get into probably in another show, but I took a very close look at the EPL teams, most of the teams that play week to week. And you start looking at how many English players are in the 16 or the 18. Yeah. How many English players are actually starting? So do you think the foreign player to that product is driving up the market because they're probably coming from another market where they're getting paid X amount?
Yes. But I'm really interested to see how that will work once Brexit comes into full effect and they get around to sports. They have a lot of things to deal with, but when they get around to sports, because remember, they had legislated, they were trying to legislate some years ago that your team had to be 60-40.
Yes, yes.
And there was some talk of 70-30 because they realized that the English national team was suffering because everybody else's national player was gaining more exposure and experience by playing in the league, and the English players had to go somewhere else.
That talk always comes up after a failed
World Cup
campaign.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering now, like I said, is that, and we probably need somebody, economist, to come on and just talk about the numbers, but I'm just wondering if that's really driving up that market. There's not even allowing some of these coaches to even take a chance on the youngsters, or not even that, balancing the books. We saw how many years that Arsenal was, just balancing the books, but didn't really get silverware either. And as a team of that stature, you want to be winning something.
Right. And I know a lot of the championship and the first division clubs, they use their youth programs as a farmer's market to try and boast funds by grooming a player, selling him off, grooming a player. And we see that with West Ham for years. Yes. They've stayed in the Premier Division through financing of upping somebody's wage after selling a prominent young person. Yeah. They come through that ranks, they identify whoever their scouts are, they can't pay those guys enough because they actually find some great talent, and everybody wants their talent. You see now Watford have a similar track. Everybody wants these three guys from Watford who had come through their youth ranks. So if you can get that type of turnaround on an investment, then I think that's what would save the club. But not everybody's in that same boat.
Interesting. Before we go, Aaron, I just want to mention something. We are talking about football, but I just want to mention, because one thing I like about our show that we get to talk about some historic things that are happening, and I like, we've mentioned many times, I like to give flowers while people are still here.
Yes.
Just over the weekend, or just over the last couple of days, when Brazil beat Peru in World Cup qualifying, Neymar has moved into second place in the Brazil all-time scoring. And growing up and following Brazil, but you hear some of these a team like Brazil, all the strikers you come across your mind, and you think, well, Neymar in second place, and it's only behind obviously Pelé. It actually drew attention to me. So just looking at the list, Pelé obviously 77 goals, Neymar with 64.
More than Ronaldo.
Ronaldo 62. Now, mind you, Neymar's took 103 matches. But just looking at the 77 goals that Pelé, you would probably guess Neymar will definitely be in this next World Cup, but could possibly make the World Cup after. Possibly.
Yeah, because he's still young.
Possibly.
But as we all know, you know what? A country like Brazil has so much talent.
Yes.
And I could see Neymar playing a starting role in 2022, and probably an assisting role in 2026 if he's still around.
So you're looking at, like I said, you're 13 goals away from Pelé.
Well, there's a possibility because remember, they've only played 2 matches thus far in the qualifiers, and it's 10 teams in that division. So he's still got Bolivia, well, they play Peru. So, he's still got a lot of teams to actually be able to score a hat trick here, score a hat trick there. The one thing that will be a concern right now is, will they get to play in Brazil? Because as we know, Brazil's numbers, they're the second largest coronavirus country in the world at this point. So they played in Peru, but will they get an opportunity to play at home? And that will be a significant thing for them in the coming days and weeks and months of playing these qualifiers.
Yeah, I just want to keep a track on it to see but also, like I said, we need to bring the economists just to come on, because I'm just thinking now, the loss of revenue for the World Cup, loss of revenue for the Olympics. How does that affect socially, but also the infrastructure, a lot of those places, because we know how much money gets spent for the infrastructure where those host events are. So it's going to be interesting how much money they put into, obviously, the Olympics, to the host nation, and how much money they're going to obviously looking at losing already.
Right. Well, Jay, we've come to the end of another show. Any parting words?
Well, Earl, I will say this here. Congratulations to St. George's, because I know you was definitely looking for a victory. I don't know about next week. You got next week?
Cougars. Down St. George's.
That's a loss. That's a loss. So I know you're not going to be happy this next week, but it's all right. Other than that, I just say good luck, because you might need it. But actually,
you need luck in everything. You need luck in everything you do. And I do want to end tonight. We never got around to it, but congratulations to the qualifiers for the PGA Bermuda Championship, which will take place at the end of the month. So
we will talk more about that next week.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night.